Undercover Heiress, a lesson in humility. I always thought I knew what hard work meant. Growing up as Alexandra Bennett, daughter of hotel magnate Richard Bennett, I'd watched my father build the Pinnacle Hotel Group into a billion-dollar empire. I'd sat through countless dinners where he spoke about understanding the foundation and knowing every gear in the machine. But truth be told, I never really grasped what he meant. That all changed 3 months ago on my 25th birthday. Instead of the keys to my own luxury condo or a new Mercedes, gifts I'd half expected, my father handed me a plain white envelope. Inside was an employee badge with my photo but not my name. It read Alex Smith, housekeeping staff with tomorrow's date as my first day. "What is this?" I asked, confused. My father's expression remained serious. "Your real education, Alexandra." "I have an MBA from Wharton," I reminded him, slightly offended. "And yet you still don't understand what makes our hotels work." He took a sip of his scotch. "You'll start at the Pinnacle Grand Chicago as Alex Smith. No one there knows who you really are. You'll work every entry-level position for the next 6 months, and then maybe you'll be ready to take over the regional management position we discussed." I nearly choked. 6 months? Dad, you can't be serious. Completely serious. You'll earn minimum wage plus tips where applicable. You'll find an apartment within that budget. You'll live the life of an actual employee. "This is insane," I protested. "I know how hotels work. I've literally grown up in them. You know how to stay in them as a guest or an owner's daughter. That's not the same thing." His voice softened slightly. "Alexandra, I started as a bellhop. Your grandfather started as a dishwasher. This isn't punishment, it's tradition. It's necessary." I stared at the badge again. 6 months of making beds and cleaning toilets? Of living on pennies when I was supposed to be stepping into executive leadership? And if I refuse? My father shrugged. "Then perhaps Joshua will be more interested in learning the business properly." Joshua, my ambitious younger brother who was always trying to prove himself. The mere suggestion that he might leapfrog me in line for succession was all it took. "Fine," I said through gritted teeth. "I'll do it." And that's how Alexandra Bennett, heiress to the Pinnacle Hotel fortune, became Alex Smith, the newest member of the housekeeping staff at the Chicago Pinnacle Grand. My first day was a disaster. I showed up in what I thought was appropriate attire, black slacks and a simple blouse, only to be handed a scratchy polyester uniform by Carmen, the head of housekeeping. "You're late," she said, checking her watch. "Report time is 7 a.m. sharp." "I'm sorry, the traffic was..." "Save it. Everyone has traffic. Plan better tomorrow." She thrust a clipboard at me. "You'll shadow Lucia today. Teen rooms, standard clean. Keep pace or we fall behind schedule." Lucia was a petite woman in her 40s with calloused hands and tired eyes that somehow still managed to smile. "First hotel job?" she asked as we pushed our supply cart into the service elevator. "Is it that obvious?" She laughed. "Your nails. Too perfect. They won't last a week." She was right. By lunchtime, I'd broken 2 nails, developed a blister on my heel, and sweat through my uniform. Making beds wasn't just about pulling up sheets. It was a precise science of hospital corners and perfect creases. Cleaning bathrooms wasn't just wiping surfaces. It was meticulous scrubbing and detailed inspection. 5 minutes per room for standard checkout, Lucia explained as she effortlessly made a king-sized bed in what seemed like seconds. 7 minutes for stay-over service. "That's impossible," I said, still struggling with the fitted sheet on my side. "Not impossible. Necessary." She moved to help me. "The schedule gives us 8 hours to clean all rooms. If we're slow, we don't finish. If we don't finish, we don't get hours tomorrow. No hours, no pay." By the end of that first day, my back ached, my feet throbbed, and my hands were raw from cleaning chemicals. I collapsed onto the bed in my small furnished apartment, the only one I could find on short notice that I could afford on my new salary, and called my best friend, Taylor. "I'm not going to survive this," I moaned after recounting my day. "So quit," Taylor said simply. "Your dad's making a point, you've learned it, move on." I considered it. One humiliating day should be enough to prove I was willing to try, right? But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride, or my competitive nature, or the fact that I couldn't stand the thought of my father's disappointed face. "No," I said finally. "I'm not giving him this satisfaction." The next few weeks taught me more than my entire MBA program. I learned that Carmen wasn't just strict. She was protecting her team from management cuts that would mean fewer hours for everyone. I learned that Lucia sent most of her paycheck to family in Mexico and worked a second job on weekends. I learned that Miguel from maintenance had an engineering degree from his home country that wasn't recognized here, and that Amir at the front desk was working his way through night school. I learned that every single person at that hotel worked harder than I ever had in my life. I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m., force down some instant coffee, and catch the bus to make it to work by 7. Some days I'd clean rooms until my arms felt like they might fall off. Other days, when they were short-staffed, I'd be pulled to help in the laundry room, folding endless piles of sheets and towels in a room so hot and humid it felt like a sauna. "Keep your head down and do your job," became my mantra. It was working, too, until I met Daniel Cooper. Daniel was the new assistant general manager, transferred from our Boston property. 32, he was one of the youngest executives in the company and, according to breakroom gossip, on a fast track to the top. He was also, objectively speaking, heart-stoppingly handsome with his dark hair, blue eyes, and tailored suits. We met when I was assigned to deep clean the presidential suite after a particularly messy guest checkout. I was on my hands and knees, scrubbing wine stains from the marble bathroom floor when he walked in. "Oh, sorry," he said, startled to find someone there. "I was told this room was being prepared for a VIP arrival." I sat back on my heels, pushing hair from my sweaty face. "It is. I'm almost finished." He checked his watch with a frown. "The guest arrives in an hour." "And I'll be done in 20 minutes, I replied, a hint of irritation in my voice. "I've been at this for 2 hours already." He looked at me more carefully then, as if seeing me for the first time. "You're new. Started a few weeks ago. And how are you finding it?" Something in his tone, a hint of condescension perhaps, sparked my temper. "I'm finding that wine stains are stubborn, manager visits are disruptive, and I'd appreciate being allowed to finish my job." His eyebrows shot up. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. "Fair enough. Carry on, MS. Smith. Alex Smith." "Well, Ms. Smith, I look forward to seeing the results of your work." He turned to leave, then paused. "By the way, the fastest way to remove red wine from marble is club soda and salt. Less scrubbing required." With that, he was gone, leaving me both annoyed and intrigued. After a month, I was promoted from housekeeping to the front desk, a move that Carmen said was unusually quick. "You work hard," she told me simply. "And you learn fast." The front desk was a different kind of challenge. Instead of physical labor, it was emotional labor, smiling through the complaints, de-escalating tensions, solving problems on the fly. I was on my feet just as much, but now in uncomfortable professional shoes instead of practical sneakers. It was also where I began to see the dysfunction in the hotel's operations. The booking system frequently double-booked rooms. Communication between departments was abysmal. Guests would arrive to unmade rooms, or rooms would sit empty while people were told the hotel was full. And the staff bore the brunt of guest frustrations. "This happens every weekend," sighed Jessica, the front desk supervisor, after we dealt with a particularly irate guest. "Management won't update the software because it's too expensive." "Has anyone actually calculated how much business we're losing from these mistakes?" I asked. Jessica laughed. "Above our pay grade to ask those questions, honey." But I couldn't help myself. I started keeping track. noting each incident, the time wasted, the comp items given to placate guests, the potential revenue lost. Within 2 weeks, I had a spreadsheet that made my business school brain light up with alarm. One evening, as I was finishing my shift, I literally ran into Daniel as I rounded a corner, spilling my coffee on his impeccable suit. "I'm so sorry," I gasped, mortified. "It's fine," he said, though his expression suggested it was anything but. "It's been that kind of day." "Bad meeting," I ventured, helping him blot the stain with napkins. "Budget discussions. Always a headache." Before I could stop myself, I said, "Well, if you're looking to save money, you might want to look at how much we're losing on booking errors." His eyes narrowed. "Excuse me." Now committed, I pulled out my phone and showed him my spreadsheet. "I've been tracking incidents for 2 weeks. We're losing approximately $12,000 a week just in comps and rate adjustments, not counting lost future business from dissatisfied guests." He stared at my screen, then at me. "You did this, why?" I shrugged, suddenly self-conscious. "I like data. And I don't like inefficiency." "Send this to me," he said after a moment. "And I'd like to discuss it further. Are you free for coffee tomorrow morning? Before your shift." That coffee meeting turned into a regular thing. Once a week, we'd meet at the small cafe across from the hotel, and I'd share my observations about operations. Daniel was surprisingly receptive, asking thoughtful questions and occasionally implementing my suggestions. I told myself it was purely professional, but I couldn't deny the flutter in my stomach when he'd smile at me, or the way I'd spend extra time getting ready on the mornings we were meeting. "He likes you," Jessica teased after he stopped by the front desk one day just to chat. "He likes my ideas," I corrected her. "Honey, men like him don't spend that much time with front desk staff just for ideas." I didn't know what to make of that. On one hand, I was living a lie about my identity, which made any potential relationship extremely complicated. On the other hand, I couldn't remember the last time someone had shown interest in me for my mind rather than my family name. It was a problem for another day, I decided. Right now, I had bigger concerns, like the upcoming corporate inspection that had everyone on edge. 3 months into my undercover life, I'd worked in housekeeping, at the front desk, in the restaurant as a server, and now in the concierge department. Each position gave me a new perspective on the hotel's operations, and I'd continued my meetings with Daniel, who had implemented several of my suggestions with positive results. Corporate inspection was scheduled for the following week, and rumors were flying that big changes would follow. The general manager, Mr. Patel, had called an all-staff meeting to prepare. "This inspection will determine bonuses and possibly staffing levels for the next quarter," he announced grimly. "We need everything perfect." A hand went up in the back. It was Miguel from maintenance. "Will they be looking at the water damage in rooms 2110 through 2118? We've reported it 3 times but haven't been authorized to make repairs." Tell looked uncomfortable. "We're prioritizing areas the inspection team typically focuses on." Another hand. Lucia from housekeeping. "What about the mold in the staff break room? It's making people sick." Again, we're focusing on guest areas first. I felt a surge of indignation. These weren't just inconveniences, they were health hazards. And they affected the staff who were expected to deliver perfect service. After the meeting, I found Daniel in his office, reviewing inspection checklists. "Can I talk to you about something?" I asked. He gestured for me to sit. "Let me guess. The staff concerns about maintenance issues?" "Yes. They're legitimate problems. The mold in the break room, the water damage." "I know," he sighed. "But the renovation budget is allocated by corporate, and they've decided these items can wait until next fiscal year. That's 3 months away. People are getting sick now." He ran a hand through his hair. "What would you have me do, Alex? I don't control the purse strings." "You could advocate for the staff. Push back on corporate." "It's not that simple." "It is that simple," I insisted. These are basic health and safety issues. Corporate wants this hotel to pass inspection with flying colors. They need the staff at their best. And if they won't listen to reason, maybe they'll listen to the health department or OSHA. His expression darkened. Are you threatening to report the hotel? I'm suggesting that someone needs to stand up for the people who make this place run. If management won't do it, maybe the employees should. We stared at each other for a long moment. You're right, he said finally, his voice quiet. I'll make some calls. See what I can do. I nodded, surprised by his concession. Thank you. As I turned to leave, he added, You know, you're wasted at the concierge desk. You should be in management. If only he knew. Corporate inspection team arrived on a Monday, 5 stern-faced executives in expensive suits, led by a woman named Margaret Chen, who was apparently the new VP of operations. I'd never met her before, which was a relief, one less person who might recognize me. The inspection went well at first. Public areas were immaculate, the guest rooms spotless, the service polished. But then they began interviewing staff. I was working at the concierge desk when I overheard one of the inspectors asking Jessica pointed questions about turnover rates and staff satisfaction. Jessica, ever diplomatic, was giving careful answers, but I could see her discomfort. When the inspector moved on, I slipped over to her. You okay? They're fishing for something, she whispered. Like they want us to complain. Throughout the day, I noticed similar interactions. The inspection team seemed less interested in the physical hotel than in staff morale and management practices. And they were paying particular attention to Daniel. By afternoon, tension in the hotel was palpable. Mr. Patel was sweating through his suit, and Daniel looked increasingly stressed each time I saw him. Then came the bombshell. I was called to a meeting in the executive conference room, along with several other staff members from different departments. Corporate team sat on one side of the table with Margaret Chen at the center. Mr. Patel and Daniel sat on the other side, looking grim. Thank you for joining us, Margaret began. We've selected you because you've been identified as high performers who have the trust of your colleagues. We want your candid feedback about the management of this hotel. One by one, people spoke up. The maintenance issues, the outdated systems, the staffing shortages, communication problems. When it was my turn, I took a deep breath. The staff here are incredible. They work miracles every day despite inadequate resources and support. But they're burning out because management, both hotel and corporate, prioritizes short-term profits over sustainable operations and basic dignity for workers. The room went silent. Daniel was staring at me with a mixture of admiration and alarm. Mr. Patel looked like he might faint. Margaret Chen studied me for a long moment. That's quite an assessment, Ms. Smith. And what would you suggest we do about it? Invest in your people, I said simply. Fix the health hazards in the staff areas. Update the systems that waste everyone's time. Pay living wages and provide adequate staffing. The return on investment will show in guest satisfaction, reduced turnover, and ultimately increased revenue. She nodded slowly, then looked at her team. That will be all for now. Thank you for your honesty. As we filed out, Daniel caught my arm. That was either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Maybe both, I admitted. They could fire all of us, you know. They won't. Not if they're smart. I met his eyes. The truth is, this hotel needs fixing from the foundation up. And if they can't see that, maybe it's not a company worth working for anyway. He looked at me with something like wonder. Who are you, Alex Smith? It was time to find out. The fallout came swiftly. The next morning, Mr. Patel was summoned to corporate headquarters. Daniel was named acting general manager in his absence. And I received an email from Margaret Chen herself, requesting my presence at a private meeting that afternoon. This was it. Either I was being fired or my cover was blown. I spent my lunch break rehearsing explanations in my head, trying to decide whether to maintain my charade or come clean. In the end, I decided honesty was my only option. Whatever happened, I'd face it as Alexandra Bennett, not Alex Smith. I changed into my best work outfit, a black dress and blazer I'd splurged on despite my limited budget, and made my way to the executive meeting room where Margaret waited. She wasn't alone. My father sat beside her. "Hello, Alexandra," he said calmly. "I believe it's time we talked." I sank into a chair across from them. "How long have you known that you were here?" "From the beginning." "That you were making waves?" "It's about a month now." I looked between them. "So this whole inspection was what, a test?" "Not exactly," Margaret said. "The inspection was real. Your father simply made sure it happened at this particular property, at this particular time. And with these particular inspectors looking into management practices," I added, understanding dawning. "You wanted to see what I'd do." My father nodded. "I've been getting reports about your work, your initiative, your spreadsheets." His lips twitched in what might have been pride. "The booking system analysis was particularly impressive," Margaret added, "as was your advocacy for staff welfare." "So I'm not fired?" I ventured. My father actually laughed. "No, Alexandra, you're promoted. If you want it." "The regional management position?" "No," he said. "General manager of this hotel." I blinked. "But what about Mr. Patel? And Daniel?" "Mr. Patel has been offered early retirement. His management style wasn't aligned with where we want to take the company." My father's expression turned serious. "As for Mr. Cooper, that depends partly on you. He's certainly shown potential, particularly in his willingness to listen to your suggestions." I felt heat rise in my cheeks and hoped it wasn't visible. "He's good at his job. He cares about doing things right." My father gave me a knowing look. "Well, in any case, the position is yours if you want it. With one condition." "What's that?" "You finish your 6 months as planned. 3 more months in various roles. The GM position will be waiting for you." I considered this. 3 more months of hard work, of living on minimal pay, of being just Alex to my colleagues. But also 3 more months of learning, of proving myself on merit rather than name. "I accept," I said finally. "But I have conditions of my own." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Such as?" "The staff issues get fixed immediately. The break room, the water damage, all of it. And we implement a living wage policy for all employees." My father and Margaret exchanged glances. "Those changes were already in motion," my father said, "after your passionate feedback yesterday." "Good," I nodded. "Then I also want autonomy to upgrade systems and reorganize departments as needed once I take over." "Within budget," my father countered. "With an adequate budget," I amended. He smiled slightly. "You drive a hard bargain, Alexandra. But yes, we can agree to that." "One more thing," I said. "No one knows who I really am yet. I want to keep it that way until my 6 months are up. I need to earn their respect as Alex before I can lead them as Alexandra." My father considered this, then nodded. "Agreed. But you should know that some changes will begin immediately with a new interim GM coming in next week. You'll have to work under their direction." "Who is it?" "We're still deciding," Margaret said. "We'll be conducting interviews over the next few days." Including Daniel, I suspected. The thought gave me mixed feelings. On one hand, he deserved recognition for his willingness to listen and adapt. On the other hand, if he became the interim GM, it would complicate our whatever it was we had. And it would mean he'd be stepping down when I took over, which might create resentment. But that was a problem for another day. For now, I had a job to do, several jobs in fact, and a hotel to prepare for its future transformation. The news of Mr. Patel's departure spread through the hotel like wildfire. Speculation about his replacement was the only topic of conversation for days. I kept my head down and my mouth shut, continuing my work at the concierge desk while observing the shifting dynamics around me. Daniel was clearly in the running for the interim GM position. He'd been closeted in meetings with the corporate team, emerging looking alternately confident and concerned. When we passed in the hallways, his smile seemed strained. "Everything okay?" I asked him during one such encounter. "Just corporate politics," he said with a forced lightness. "Nothing to worry about." But I was worried. Not just about Daniel or the hotel, but about my own deception. The longer I maintained my fake identity, the more complicated the eventual revelation would become. Especially with Daniel. Our coffee meetings had continued, growing less about hotel operations and more personal each time. I'd learned about his family in Michigan, his college rugby days, his ambition to eventually run a flagship hotel in New York or San Francisco. He'd learned about my business degree, my passion for systems thinking, my perfectionist tendencies, a carefully edited version of my life that wasn't exactly false, just incomplete. And despite my best intentions, I was falling for him. For his intelligence, his dry humor, his genuine concern for the people around him. When he finally admitted that corporate had been implementing maintenance repairs based on my recommendations, I'd been touched by both his humility in giving me credit and his determination to make improvements happen. "You're the most competent person I've ever met, Alex," he told me during one late-night conversation as we both finished paperwork. "And the most principled. I've never seen someone at your level stand up to corporate the way you did." The irony burned like acid in my throat. The announcement came on Friday afternoon. Margaret Chen returned to introduce the new interim general manager, Daniel Cooper. The staff cheered. He was well-liked, respected for his fairness and accessibility in ways Mr. Patel never had been. I cheered too, genuinely happy for him despite my complicated feelings. Daniel gave a brief speech about his vision for the hotel, emphasizing teamwork and communication. His eyes found mine in the crowd and he smiled. A real smile this time, not the stressed version I'd seen recently. After the meeting, he sought me out. "Congratulations," I told him sincerely. "It's well-deserved." "I have you to thank in part," he said. "Your insights helped me see what needed changing. I'm sure you'd have figured it out eventually." He shook his head. "Don't do that. Don't minimize your contribution." He hesitated, then added, "In fact, I'd like to offer you a position on the management team. Assistant front office manager." My heart sank. Here was the complication I'd feared. That's very generous, but..." "You don't have to decide right away," he said quickly. "And I understand if you want to explore other opportunities. Corporate team was impressed with you, too. They might have their own offers. If only he knew." "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Of course. Take the weekend." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "And maybe we could discuss it over dinner tomorrow night? Somewhere nice, not the hotel restaurant." Was he asking me on a date? My pulse quickened. "I'd like that," I heard myself say. His smile was luminous. "Great. I'll pick you up at 7? I gave him my address, already panicking about what my tiny apartment would reveal about Alex Smith and what I would wear on a date with my future employee. Boss? The whole situation was a mess. But as I watched him walk away, confident and energized in his new role, I couldn't bring myself to regret saying yes. The next evening, I spent hours getting ready, trying to strike a balance between the simple style of Alex Smith and the more sophisticated tastes of Alexandra Bennett. I settled on a classic black dress, the one expensive item I'd allowed myself during these months, with minimal jewelry and subtle makeup. My apartment was what it was, a small studio with second-hand furniture and few personal touches. I'd been so focused on work and saving money that I hadn't bothered decorating. Now I wished I'd at least bought some art for the walls. Precisely 7, there was a knock at my door. Daniel stood there holding a small bouquet of mixed flowers, looking devastatingly handsome in dark jeans and a sports coat. "You look amazing," he said, his eyes traveling from my face to my shoes and back. "So do you," I replied, accepting the flowers. "Come in while I put these in water." He stepped inside, politely taking in my modest living space without comment. "It's not much," I said, feeling unexpectedly self-conscious. "But it's close to work." "It's practical," he agreed. "Very you." I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or not. Dinner was at a small bistro downtown, the kind of place that was nice without being pretentious. Daniel was attentive and charming, asking thoughtful questions and listening intently to my answers. I found myself sharing more than I intended. My childhood love of puzzles and systems, my complicated relationship with my father, my ambition to make a meaningful impact. "I always felt I had something to prove," I admitted after my second glass of wine. "That I needed to earn my place." "I understand that," Daniel said. "When your father is successful, you live in his shadow until you can create your own light." I looked at him sharply. "Your father was successful?" He gave a wry smile. "District manager for a retail chain. Not exactly a tycoon, but a big deal in our small town. Everyone expected his son to follow in his footsteps." "But you chose hotels instead." He nodded. "I wanted to build something different. Something mine." He reached across the table to take my hand. "I think you understand that better than most people." I did. And in that moment, I almost told him everything. Who I really was, why I was there, what would happen in 3 months. The words were on the tip of my tongue. But then he continued, "That's why I think you'd be perfect for the management team. You have fresh perspectives, unclouded by corporate politics or old-school thinking." "Daniel, there's something I need to tell you," I began. His phone rang, the special tone he'd set for hotel emergencies. He glanced at it apologetically. "I'm sorry, I have to take this." While he stepped outside to handle the call, I sat with my uncertainty. How could I tell him the truth now when he'd just offered me a position based on who he thought I was? When we were finally exploring the connection between us. He returned looking troubled. "I'm so sorry, but there's a situation at the hotel. A water pipe burst on the 3rd floor." "Go," I said immediately. "I understand. I'll make this up to you," he promised, already signaling for the check. "It's fine, really. The hotel comes first." His relief was palpable. "Most people wouldn't understand that." "I'm not most people," I said with a small smile. "No," he agreed, his eyes warm. "You're definitely not." He insisted on getting me a cab home before heading to the hotel. As I watched him stride away, phone already at his ear, I felt a surge of admiration mingled with guilt. He was exactly the kind of leader the hotel needed. And I was lying to him. The next 3 months passed in a blur of activity. Under Daniel's leadership, the hotel began a transformation. The maintenance issues were addressed. New systems were implemented, many based on my original suggestions. Staff morale improved dramatically as their concerns were taken seriously. I continued my rotation through departments, working in sales, events, and finally back at the front desk. Daniel and I maintained our professional relationship, with occasional dinners or drinks that blurred the line between work and personal. We never put a label on what was developing between us, but the attraction was undeniable. He respected my boundaries. I told him I wanted to take things slowly, but his feelings were clear in the way his eyes followed me. The casual touches that lingered just a moment too long, the private smiles we shared across crowded rooms. And I was falling harder every day, even as the dread of my eventual revelation grew. 1 month before my 6-month deadline, my father called. "How are you finding Mr. Cooper's management?" he asked without preamble. "He's exceptional," I said honestly. "The hotel is running better than ever. Staff satisfaction is up, and guest reviews have improved significantly." "So I've heard." My father paused. The board is impressed. There's talk of offering him a permanent position. My stomach dropped. As GM of the Chicago property? Possibly. Or as regional manager, the position that was meant for you. I sat down, suddenly dizzy. I see. Unless you have objections. Did I? Daniel deserved recognition for his work. He was a natural leader, respected by staff and effective with management. If I were truly thinking of the company's best interests. But I also knew that once he learned who I really was, any chance of a personal relationship would likely be destroyed. He would feel betrayed, manipulated. And he wouldn't be wrong. Alexandra? Are you there? Yes, I said finally. I need to tell him the truth before any decisions are made. My father was quiet for a moment. That would be the honorable thing to do. Can you delay any offers until I've had that conversation? I can give you 1 week. 1 week to find the courage to destroy both my professional and personal future with Daniel. Thank you. I spent days rehearsing what I would say, how I would explain. But every scenario I imagined ended with his anger and sense of betrayal, both completely justified. Finally, I invited him to dinner at my apartment. If we were going to have this conversation, I wanted it to be on neutral ground, somewhere private. He arrived with a bottle of wine and a hopeful expression that made my heart ache. "This is a nice surprise," he said as I took his coat. "You've been a little distant lately." "I've had a lot on my mind," I admitted, leading him to my small dining table already set for dinner. We made small talk through the meal, about the hotel, about staff, about the upcoming busy season. Daniel seemed relaxed, happier than I'd seen him in weeks. "The corporate team has been dropping hints about my future," he told me over dessert. "I think they might offer me the GM position permanently." "You deserve it," I said sincerely. "You've done amazing work." He reached for my hand. "And I want you on my leadership team." Officially this time. I withdrew my hand gently. "Daniel, there's something I need to tell you." His expression turned guarded. "That sounds serious." "It is." I took a deep breath. "My name isn't Alex Smith. It's Alexandra Bennett." He stared at me blankly for a moment. Then understanding dawned in his eyes, followed by confusion, then shock. "Bennett? As in?" "Richard Bennett's daughter." "Yes." He pushed back from the table. "I don't understand." "Why would you?" "How long?" 6 months ago, my father gave me an assignment to work every entry-level position in one of our hotels to learn the business from the ground up. No one was supposed to know who I really was. "So this whole time you've been what?" "Spying for corporate." "No. I was learning. Experiencing the reality of hotel operations firsthand. And reporting everything back to your father." His voice had turned cold. "Not the way you're thinking," I insisted. "Yes, I shared observations, but not to get anyone in trouble. To identify problems, to make things better." He stood up abruptly. "Like me? Was I a problem to be fixed? Or just a stepping stone in your education?" "Neither." "Daniel, please." All those conversations we had, all those suggestions I implemented thinking they came from a gifted employee, those were just the heir apparent testing her ideas using me as her puppet. "That's not true. I never manipulated you." He laughed bitterly. "What would you call it then? You literally pretended to be someone else for months. You let me." He broke off, running a hand through his hair. "God, I offered you a job. I thought we were." "We were," I said desperately. "Everything between us was real." "Is real." "Really? Which part? The part where you're actually my boss's daughter? Or the part where in a month you'll be taking over the position I just started to think might be mine permanently?" His words hit me like a physical blow. I hadn't even gotten to that part yet. "How did you?" "I'm not an idiot, Alexandra. The way he said my real name stung. If Richard Bennett's daughter is working undercover at my hotel, it's not just for an educational experience. It's because she's being groomed for management. I stood up, desperate to make him understand. Yes, I'm supposed to become GM after my 6 months are complete. But things have changed. You've changed things. Have I? His eyes flashed with hurt and anger. Or was this always the plan? Let me do the hard work of fixing the hotel while you learn the ropes, then swoop in and take over once everything was running smoothly? No. My father originally intended for me to take a regional management position, not this specific hotel. The GM offer only came after the inspection, after they saw what I could do. What we could do, he corrected. Those improvements happen because we worked together. Or at least I thought we did. He moved toward the door. I need to go. Daniel, please. Just let me explain everything. He paused, hand on the doorknob. I think you've explained enough. After he left, I sank to the floor and cried until I had no tears left. Then I called my father. It didn't go well, I said simply. I'm sorry to hear that. My father's voice was gentler than usual. What will you do now? I wiped my eyes. The right thing. Daniel avoided me for the next 3 days. When we did interact, it was strictly professional, cold, distant, and formal. The rest of the staff noticed the change, and rumors began circulating that we'd had a falling out. I threw myself into my work, completing my final rotations with a single-minded focus. That night, I worked on a proposal that would determine not just my future, but Daniel's as well. On the 4th day, I received a message from my father. Corporate is moving forward with offers tomorrow. Time's up. I requested a meeting with Daniel that afternoon. He agreed reluctantly, his expression guarded when I entered his office. I'll keep this brief, I said, placing a folder on his desk. This is my formal recommendation to the board regarding the management structure of this hotel. He made no move to open it. And you're showing me this why? Because it concerns you. 'Cause despite what you think, I respect you and believe in your abilities. And because I want you to hear this from me first, not from corporate. He finally opened the folder and scanned the document inside. His brow furrowed as he read. You're declining the GM position? And recommending me instead? Yes. Why? Because you're the right person for the job. You've earned the trust of the staff, you understand the operational challenges, and you've already proven you can drive positive change. He studied me carefully. And what about you? I'm recommending myself for a new position, Director of Operational Excellence, reporting directly to the VP of Operations. I'll be responsible for implementing the kinds of systemic improvements we identified here across all Pinnacle properties. A corporate role? Yes. Plays to my strengths, data analysis, systems thinking, organizational design, without displacing effective leaders like you. He leaned back in his chair. And this has nothing to do with personal considerations? I met his eyes squarely. I won't lie to you again, Daniel. Yes, part of this decision is personal. I understand why you feel betrayed, and I don't expect forgiveness. But this recommendation is also based on objective assessment. You are the best person to lead this hotel. He was quiet for a long moment, studying the document. Your father approved this? It was my idea, but yes, he's on board. He's impressed with you and with what we accomplished together. Daniel closed the folder. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that my assessment of you, both professionally and personally, was never a lie. I turned to leave. Alexandra, he called as I reached the door. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. 2 weeks later, I stood in the hotel's grand ballroom, surrounded by the entire staff. It was time for the truth to come out. Daniel had called an all-staff meeting to make several announcements. I stood to the side as he took the podium, feeling both nervous and relieved that this chapter of deception was finally ending. "Thank you all for coming," Daniel began. "As you know, the past few months have brought significant changes to our hotel, all for the better, thanks to your hard work and dedication." He outlined the improvements in guest satisfaction scores, the reduction in maintenance issues, and the upcoming system upgrades. "Today, I'm pleased to officially accept the position of General Manager of the Pinnacle Grand Chicago." Applause filled the room. "I'm also announcing several promotions within our team, recognizing those who have demonstrated exceptional commitment and talent." He named several staff members: Jessica to front desk manager, Lucia to assistant executive housekeeper, Miguel to maintenance supervisor. Each promotion met with cheers from their colleagues. "And finally," he said, his eyes finding mine, "I want to introduce, or rather reintroduce, someone who has been working alongside us these past 6 months." A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. "Many of you know her as Alex Smith, who's worked in nearly every department of this hotel. What you don't know is that her real name is Alexandra Bennett, daughter of Pinnacle Hotel Group's founder and CEO." The room erupted in gasps and whispers as all eyes turned to me. I stepped forward, feeling the weight of their stares. "Ms. Bennett wasn't here to spy on us or report our mistakes," Daniel continued. "She was here to learn, to understand, and ultimately to make our company better. And I can personally attest that she has done exactly that." He gestured for me to join him at the podium. With shaky legs, I made my way to his side. "Hello," I said, looking out at the shocked faces of people I'd worked alongside for months. "I owe you all an apology for the deception, though my respect and admiration for each of you has always been genuine." I explained my father's assignment, what I'd learned, and how it had changed my perspective on both the hotel business and myself. "Working with you, truly working, not just observing, has been the most valuable experience of my life. You taught me what real dedication looks like. You showed me the challenges you face every day and the incredible creativity you bring to solving problems. Most importantly, you reminded me that a hotel isn't about buildings or brands. It's about people." I glanced at Daniel before continuing. "Starting next month, I'll be taking on a new role as Director of Operational Excellence for Pinnacle Hotel Group. My first priority will be implementing the improvements we pioneered here across all our properties. Better systems, more responsive maintenance, living wages, and genuine respect for every employee at every level." To my surprise, Carmen from housekeeping was the first to stand and applaud. Lucia followed, then Jessica, then the entire room. As the applause died down, I added, "I hope you'll forgive the deception and judge me not by my name but by my actions, both past and future." The reception afterward was overwhelming. Some staff members were still processing the shock, but most were genuinely supportive, even excited about the changes I'd proposed. Lucia hugged me and made me promise to fix the laundry systems at all the properties. Miguel showed me his engineering portfolio, which I promised to share with our development team. Daniel maintained a professional distance throughout the event, but as things were winding down, he approached me with 2 glasses of champagne. "Quite a performance," he said, handing me one. "Not a performance," I corrected. "Just the truth, finally." We stepped outside onto the terrace, away from the crowd. "So," he said after a moment, "Director of Operational Excellence. It's a new position. I'll be helping implement best practices across all properties and identifying opportunities for improvement." "Which means you'll be traveling a lot." "Yes." "Including to Chicago?" I looked at him, trying to read his expression. "Regularly." He nodded, taking a sip of his champagne. "You know, I'm still angry with you." "I know. You have every right to be. But I'm also grateful." He turned to face me fully. "You could have taken this job. You could have pushed me aside without a second thought. Instead, you recommended me. Why? Because you earned it. 'Cause you're excellent at what you do. And because..." I hesitated. Because I care about you," I admitted. More than I should, given the circumstances. The hint of a smile touched his lips. Caring about inappropriate people seems to be a habit of mine, too. We stood in silence for a moment, the weight of possibilities hanging between us. I don't know if I can trust you, he said finally. I understand, but I'd like to try. He set down his glass. Slowly, one step at a time. Starting with dinner next time you're in Chicago, as Alexandra Bennett, not Alex Smith. Hope flickered in my chest. I'd like that. Good. He extended his hand. It's nice to finally meet you, Alexandra. I took his hand, feeling the warmth of his grip. The pleasure is mine, Daniel. 6 months ago, I'd started this journey expecting to learn about hotel operations. Instead, I'd learned about people, their struggles, their resilience, their worth. I'd learned about leadership, not from the top down, but from the foundation up. And I'd learned about myself, the person I wanted to be, not just the position I wanted to hold. As Daniel and I stood on that terrace, looking out over the Chicago skyline, I knew that the most valuable lesson hadn't been about hotels at all. It had been about humility, authenticity, and the courage to build something real, even when it meant tearing down the facades we hide behind. Sometimes the hardest person to be honest with is yourself. But once you are, everything else follows. Even forgiveness. Even love. Even a future you never expected to find. The end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible content.